everyone. I am Larkin Yanulis, Regional Director of Growth based in San Diego, and I am so thrilled to be joined today in our webinar by the Fabricant Bond team at Compass and also Caroline Bean in Houston. And welcome to all of our attendees today. Before I introduce our amazing agent panel, I'd love to prompt a question over to the chat. We like to make these conversations conversational, hear from you. If you could please drop in the chat for our participants where you're based, it would be wonderful to get an idea of geographically where everyone sits in their real estate careers. So with that, I will jump into introducing our panelists. So the Fabricant Bond team is a top-ranked New York City real estate team run by two former attorneys. They are expert negotiators, trusted advisors, and have closed over $1 billion in sales. They've been featured in numerous publications from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times. And for the last 4 years, Colin and Boris have been ranked in the top 10 in New York City and top 100 by US Real Trends. Congrats to you both and welcome. And then Caroline Bean is also a top producing Houston real estate agent. She consistently ranks in the top 5 agents in Houston for overall sales volume and luxury. She's known for her elite sales skills and an ability to expertly drive any type of deal, including first-time buyers, new construction sales, resales, and relocations. So with that, Boris, Colin, and Caroline, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. Doing well.
Wonderful. Well, we will go ahead and jump into it. We already have a lively chat ranging from all over the country. We're so grateful for all of our participants being here today. And following today's webinar, we'll also be emailing out a recording for you. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first questions of this series regarding winning in low inventory markets, our current market today. So for this first question, Caroline, I'd love to go to you in Houston for everyone to be able to learn from you directly. How have you been able to personally adapt your strategies to the challenges of today's low inventory market?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today and to speak to everybody that is curious about Compass. So Houston has consistently had a low inventory market, specifically in the inner city, and we have been dealing with this since COVID. It really has not picked back up. We are still seeing a huge demand for homes and just not enough inventory. I have obviously had to learn and strategize on a lot of things to do to find homes for my buyers, to get new listings, to keep the market moving and turning. And that has obviously been a challenge for a lot of agents nationwide as well. Some of the things I've done and I really continue to harp on is agent relationships. I mean, these are truly some of the best things you can do. Having connections with agents within Compass and in your neighborhoods and markets that you work in is truly the best thing you can do, because that is where you're collaborating, you're constantly talking, you're being able to find properties off market. Maybe even in turn, if you hear of somebody looking for something, you're able to go to a seller that could potentially be on what we call our likely to sell list, which is a feature within Compass, and I know Boris and Colin and I all use. Navigating the market and trying to find inventory for clients and trying to find listings is always going to be a challenge when the inventory is slow. But I think Compass has really helped me and given me an advantage in this situation with relationships and all of our tools and networks that help me continue to stay as a top producer.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that, Caroline. And we understand there are a lot of challenges out there. I'd like to prompt another question over to the chat, because part of what we'd like to do today is incorporate your questions of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what would be helpful for you to get out of today's webinar. So for our guests today, would love if you could share in the chat, what is the biggest challenge in the current market? What is it that you're seeing and facing as agents and brokers in your respective markets? And while we wait to receive some of those responses here from the attendees, Colin and Boris would love to take it to you in New York and understand maybe more specifically, let's start top of funnel with prospecting successes. What specific techniques or tools have you found to be most effective for identifying potential clients with the current environment in real estate?
So, hi everyone. Again, thanks for having us. One thing we've used that has been pretty successful is handwritten cards. A lot of times we'll be in a situation where if one of our clients just misses out on a specific property, let's say it's a 2-bedroom in this specific building, we'll just target and mail all of those 2 bedrooms in the building. And we've gotten phone calls from people that have said, this is really impressive, and that started talking to people about other real estate because they were impressed by the handwritten notes. They just thought it was a very unique touch, which sounds generic and obvious, but very few people use that in our market. Everyone's just being bombarded with very generic postcards that nobody even looks at. So that's one way we have been using.
Yeah, we also definitely leverage Compass's networking tool. It's something that allows us to see other brokers who've transacted in an area that we want to focus on. So it opens up inventory for our clients in that if they are looking for a specific size apartment in a specific neighborhood, we can reach out to those people who've done other buy side and sell side. And it's not just at Compass, it actually lets us reach out to people across our market. And that's been really helpful in identifying potential off-market opportunities that we can then bring to our clients.
Awesome. Thanks for both of those, Boris and Colin. So handwritten notes and working the network at Compass. Compass does have over 30,000 agents nationwide that are affiliated with Compass. So a really, really powerful network. We'll get into more on that in just a bit as well. I'd love to understand too, just before we hopped on live for the discussion here, the 4 of us were discussing how conversations with clients are getting longer. There's a lot more conversations with everything going on in the market. And so, Caroline, maybe to kick this one back over to you first, and then would love to hear from Fabricant and Bond. But Caroline, how are you educating your clients on the current realities and managing their expectations on transacting in this kind of market?
That's a great question. So with listings in Houston specifically, most sellers are getting what they want for their houses if they're priced within range, of course, and they don't have any obvious issues that a buyer would be, concerned about. But just in terms of the overall market, I think most people have been in this market for long enough to realize that we're still seeing multiple offer situations. We're still seeing people having to waive appraisals and other contingencies. And we're still seeing prices continue to go up. Even in a 6 months period, we're seeing things go up. And people are paying for it. So I think mostly it's educating your clients, showing them the data last year or 2 years. They can really have understanding before they start looking, and then being totally transparent with them. There is going to be a potential bidding war on the next house that you find, and then just hopefully guiding them and giving them all of the tools that you can, and giving them as much information as possible to help them make that decision, and then guiding them with terms that will make them hopefully be a winning offer, even if they are not cash buyers. And then on the listing side as well, trying to navigate if you are getting multiple offers and advising your clients on what offer they think is going to make it to the closing table, and whether that's the agent that is bringing the buyer, whether it's terms and contingencies in the contracts that could prohibit the sale from moving forward or even delaying the closing. But all of these things are working. We are still navigating this market. It's changing all the time. We have lots of things coming up in the fall that will even change our markets even more, and a lot of the rules that we're having to go by. But I think being transparent with your clients, being very communicative is the best thing you can do, because then there's not any big surprises when they start the process.
Thank you, Caroline. And you've mentioned the transparency being so important, of course, and being able to communicate to them in lifetime. Are there any particular tools that have been provided by Compass that are resonating to make your process easier with that?
Yes. I mean, I think Compass Collections is huge, whether you have a listing or a buyer, and it really gives the seller or the buyer real time live of how things are moving and how quickly they're moving. And then it also tells you when something is sold. So just the data that we can pull from our Compass platform to share with our clients is instrumental like in itself. And it really does provide them with as much information as possible so they know what they're walking into if they are not familiar with the market.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. We lean very heavily on Compass collections and a lot of the tools, but collections is amazing for a seller, buyer, or prospective seller. So if you're speaking to someone and kind of courting them, like through the process for them to potentially potentially sell down the road, we'll actually set up a collection for them so that they can see what transactions are happening, what's coming on the market, how quickly it's staying on the market, if there are price adjustments. And the way that Compass has it set up is that it actually comes as an email from us. So it looks like we are really staying on top of the market, but given the amount of people that we work with, it wouldn't physically be possible for us to email everybody daily. But it looks as though we are doing that, which is really, really, truly amazing.
The power of technology. Wonderful. And going into off-market strategies, I'd love to let's keep this maybe with Boris and Colin first, and then Caroline would welcome your perspective as well. But how are you all successfully utilizing off-market at Compass? We call them private exclusives, Compass only listings to benefit your clients, your sellers, and then also your buyers.
Yeah, happy to jump in on that. We use private exclusives on every listing, on every pitch, and it's, in our opinion, one of the strongest tools we have here at Compass. Just this week alone, we signed 2 new listings, and the sellers really perked up when they heard about the private exclusive. And we personally think it gives us a huge edge. It allows us to sign up more listings by having this tool. And I think the importance is not just having it and saying it's out there, but explaining to sellers how we utilize it, what the benefits are. And we always start with, we have yet to hear or learn of a single downside. There's so many advantages to having a private exclusive, and we kind of lay them all out. And we tell a seller that, it ranges from a seller that is saying to us, you know what, I'm just not ready to sell because the place isn't ready, or they want to wait until the school year is over, or it's not the right time. Whatever that reason is, it's still an opportunity for us to get in and say to them that there's no downside. And in fact, it gets us more listings because 6 months from now, some cousin or friend or somebody they know could jump in and say, oh, I have a license. So getting them in early, even though it's too soon for them to start thinking about it, is one huge advantage. And then we've had opportunities to give our clients, to get our clients personally, I think a price higher than the market would have bared, because when you get a buyer through the door and it's something off market, and buyers have this sense of privilege information that they get, if they like it enough to submit an offer, they're going to think that others might like it too. I mean, we're all humans. We all have an ego. Something I personally like, I'm going to think a lot of people like. So we've had situations where someone pays a higher price because it was an opportunity for them to snag it up without having to compete with the public. And that's another amazing tool that we have.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
On that really quick, Colin, maybe if you could answer as well. Someone from the audience had asked just high level, if we could explain what Compass private exclusives are.
Absolutely. So in New York City, we have about a 20% market share. So we have 3,000 agents in New York. We have 30,000 agents across the country, give or take. And basically what it does is allows us to have to bring this listing to those Compass agents before bringing it to the open market. I noticed that somebody said, why deny full market exposure? Well, it's pretty easy. We're not denying it. We're just preempting it. So we're going about this first. For example, if someone needs to paint or do yard work or do anything to prepare the listing, well, why don't we get it on day one and utilize that kind of like a soft opening for a restaurant? You're going to go in and try the food out first. This will allow us to start garnering interest. We may not even get them through the door at first, but we'll line up a list of people so that as soon as it does hit the market, we'll notify all those people who've reached out and get them all in at once. And that in and of itself really shows that there's a lot of interest, where there might only be 5 people interested in the property, but if all 5 people come to the open house, it looks as though this is a very in-demand property. So that's been super helpful for us. And kind of to what Boris was saying, it really does allow us to overcome any objection. So I'm not ready to sell because of timing. I'm not ready to sell because my place isn't ready. I'm not ready to sell because I'm not going to move out in 6 months because my kids are still in school. Well, put it on private exclusive now, sign them up, get them committed to you. And then you can use all of our tools and all of our analytics at Compass to kind of show them, okay, this is how many people have viewed it. This is how many people are interested. And if you can get people through the door prior to it going to market, then you can get feedback. And Compass is super collaborative. So any Compass agent who comes through the door will give us feedback, and that feedback can be directly sent to the client, which again also helps you to kind of soft open. For example, if the entryway of the property is too dark, well, then let's paint it before we go to the open market.
Paint
The
it.
other things,
Yeah.
it allows us to get feedback on price, which is important because sometimes, I'm sure you've all seen this, sellers think it's worth more than it actually is. So we have the ability to say, well, look, we've had this many people come in, we've had this many people request. And the other tool that Compass allows us is Insights tool. So we can see how many people looked at the listing and tell a seller, look, we've had 1,200 people view it, only 2 people inquired, and both of those people think it's priced too high. There's a reason why we had 1,200 and not that many showings requested. So that's a really helpful way for us to narrate to a seller, you're overpriced and here's data. And it's not just us, obviously they think we don't want to sell something because we want a quick buck, but at least here we can show them we're being genuine, honest, and there's data.
Thank you for that, Boris. And one other piece I'll add to this about Compass Private Exclusives, because this is exclusively available for Compass agents only, this does not count towards days on market. So is a distinct advantage for your sellers if you are going into a pricing positioning of how to go on the MLS. This is another way that Compass agents are able to leverage that within our regions. Caroline, anything else that you'd like to add on this exciting topic with regards to private exclusives? I know that you leverage it a lot with your book of business and clients as well.
Yes, I think I've seen a lot of comments about, well, what happens with all the other buyers that aren't working with Compass agents or not working with an agent? Well, I think that gives the exclusivity to Compass agents. So if you're working with an agent, whether it's a listing or a buyer, then you have the opportunity to show your clients listings that not the rest of the city gets to see. And that puts you at an advantage from working with other brokerages. So in the event that your client does want to do a private exclusive, there might be agents that are looking for this type of property, and they're going to tell their client, well, even if we think it's priced high right now, if it goes to the open market and everybody else gets to see it, then you may get into a bidding war. So it really gives Compass agents the opportunity from a listing and a buyer perspective to really have that opportunity to be exclusive and to potentially get homes for our clients that we might not get in a bidding war if it's at the open market. So it really is just a perk at being at Compass. Yes, of course, people always want to say, well, why don't you want everybody to see it so you can see how much you can get for it? And maybe you will get bidding wars. And that's definitely an option if you're not getting what you want as a private exclusive.
Excellent points. Thanks, Caroline. And I'd like to stay with you, Caroline, for this next question with regards to listings and visual storytelling. How are you leveraging technology to really create technology and also programs, resources, teams within Compass to help create really compelling narratives around your listings?
So I came from a smaller boutique brokerage before I was at Compass, and I was using just the general listing presentation, the general platform, kind of everything that any other agent in the city or at my brokerage was using. So when I came to Compass, I took this as an opportunity. I am a marketing and finance background, so I really wanted to leverage on Compass marketing as well as their tools. And I have had a ton of success working with Compass marketing, and I brought a couple visuals here. I put together my own personal listing presentation, as well as a seller's guide and a buyer's guide. And this is custom to me. So I was able to put the information that I wanted in it, and it's not generic. So it really has an impact when I'm able to present it to a client at a listing. So that's one thing that I really like about Compass, is the ability to kind of be with a big brand that's well known, but also individualize yourself for what you're doing and what market you're in. We talked a little bit about collections. I think having sellers on collections before and during the listing process, so they can see what the activity is like in their market, is a huge advantage. Also, Compass AI is a tool that was introduced to Compass about a year ago, and it's been tremendous in helping with writing listing descriptions, photo descriptions, even emails. If you're trying to kind of get all your thoughts, if you're writing a lengthy email, when it's a repair negotiation, anything you can think of, I use Compass AI for everything. And then Compass Concierge, that's a huge, huge advantage that we have. And it's been a great program that I've been able to utilize. And I've even gotten listings from people that I don't know that have called me that said, we want to use a Compass agent. We see you work in this, this neighborhood, and we have a lot of deferred maintenance on our house, but we don't have the cash out of pocket to get it ready to list it. We'd love for you to come over. And then I'm able to work with them, tell them what needs to be done to get their house ready for the market. Compass gives them a loan that's interest-free that they paid back at closing. It is a great program for sellers that need to sell but don't want to take cash out of their pocket to get their house ready. So from the beginning to the end, from my beautiful marketing presentation that I start with to getting their house ready, whether it's with Compass Concierge, to collections, and then everything in between. It's a really great presentation that I give, and I'm often able to win listings because of it.
Amazing. And Caroline, with your immense design background and experience, I imagine the Compass Concierge program and in partnership with your expertise is a slam dunk for your clients, being able to upgrade their homes and sell faster and at a higher price point. There's so many incredible examples and case studies of that around the country. Thank you for sharing those examples. Taking it from the visuals that were just shared with Caroline, love to come back to New York, and let's dive into a bit more on the data. You all had mentioned earlier you're leveraging Compass's Insights, which is a part of our tech platform. What type of data analytics are you all using to inform pricing strategies and your various marketing efforts?
One thing that I'll just say is something you all have available. This is not just Compass specific, although with Compass, the data is just so much easier. When a listing has been on the market for a while and it's priced too high, or maybe it's not even the price, it's just the market is really dead. Something we do with our sellers just to preserve the relationship and make sure they understand it's the market, it's not us, is we start dissecting the data and looking at everything. Like, what is the days on market average for every listing that has sold since we signed an agreement with you? What is the days on market for everything that's in contract since the day we signed with you? And as of today, what have the price shifts been? What have, how many have sold in the last 12 or 24 months that are direct competitors to yours? And once you start dissecting that data, you find the ones that really paint a picture that's honest and true. So they could see, and by the way, I'm saying this from a New York City market where it is nothing like Houston or the tri-state area suburbs. It's definitely a slower market for us. So we're on calls. I was on one just before this with our sellers and telling them, it's a really bad market. So we have to have difficult conversations. And we don't think we're doing ourselves or a client justice if we were just saying, well, we just have to wait, or we just have to lower the price. We keep and preserve our listings by dissecting and going through all that data.
Yeah, and again, I think these difficult conversations are much easier to be had with collections. So if they see that all inventory is not moving, not just this one listing, or all inventory within this specific area, then it's easier to say, well, nothing is trading, so it's not you, it's the market. We lean really, really heavily the on the tools that Compass has to create reports. So we are both attorneys and we're very data driven. So we actually export everything into spreadsheets. So when we do a comp analysis for someone, a lot of other agencies create this like really beautiful, and Compass has it too, really beautiful with lots of pictures, and you can show this one was on the market for this long and this is what it traded for. These are your direct comps. We put it all in spreadsheet form, and it's actually exportable from Compass in spreadsheet form, which is really great. And then it links to the property. So for those data-driven people, a lot of our clients are in finance or doctors or attorneys. That's how they think. And this is a really, really helpful way to make it very digestible. And it also shows you averages for everything that's already calculated into the pre-formatted spreadsheet.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, we have all different types of personas that you all are supporting as clients. So you have to adopt to more visual or data driven. Fortunately, Compass has all of that in-house to make your lives a lot easier. And you were just getting into some more about the specific tools here, Colin. I open this question up, maybe coming back over to Caroline for this, but we've spoken about collections multiple times here, some about the power of the network here, but I'd like to actually go into that piece for a minute with how are you leveraging the Compass network for referral opportunities, for being able to help place maybe one of your seller or one of your clients that's moving to another market or coming to the Houston market. How are you leveraging the Compass network and tools to accomplish that more effectively?
You want me to start?
Let's go with you, Caroline.
I'm
Yes.
happy to jump in.
Take the mic. Who wants it? All right, Gordon, over to you.
Yeah, go ahead, Caroline. I'll jump in after you. Sorry, there's a delay on my end.
Sorry about that. Of course, all of the tools we've discussed, but Compass has a great networking group. Not only do we have retreats, which are typically once or twice a year, but it's a great way to learn about Compass and the platform, as well as collaborate and network with other agents across the United States, and of course, make relationships. Within Compass, there's a lot of different subgroups that have formed that are networking groups, essentially, that meet up once a year as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for networking and gaining referrals. I was looking at my spreadsheet before this call, and I think since I've been with Compass for 6 years, I've had about 12 incoming and outgoing referrals with just Compass agents, which is great. And without that network, I wouldn't have had those clients. And then since then, those clients have referred me additional clients. So the Compass network is truly amazing. Another thing that I've done recently is I was asked to list a home that was in a suburb outside of Houston, about 40 minutes here away from me. And I was not truly familiar with the area. So I was able to use Find an Agent, which is part of the Compass platform, and you can search for agents by location and all different types of methods. And I specifically did it for a neighborhood that I was looking in and saw the agent and what type of sales they had, and was able to read her bio. And Houston is huge, so there's a ton of agents that I haven't had a chance to meet. And I was able to meet her and essentially interview her. And we are now co-listing 2 different transactions out in this location. And she's been amazing and has really, been able to take the lead with the specifics of that, that geographic area. So those are kind of my tidbits on networking and how much it's helped me and how much I've utilized it since I've been here.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest benefits for us when it comes to that network is that Colin and I, when we got to Compass for the first time, we had this different mindset of we should be asking more clients about where they're going and where they're coming from, because now we know and we're confident that we have great people that we can recommend them to. You know, before we got to Compass, I think subconsciously we were less focused on that because it was kind of like extra work. We'd have to do the research, figure it out, and it's so much work. And at Compass, it's like pressing the easy button. So, you know, in addition to all of the retreats, which we're starting to do more and more of, where we've already met a lot of the great agents, if it's a market that we haven't met somebody in, we found that the managers are all very collaborative, more so than any other brokerage we've ever seen. They have national sales manager calls. They're constantly networking themselves. So if we need somebody, you know, in Salt Lake City or Philadelphia, you know, even the smaller markets, we can just ask our manager, and later that day, we can get usually a couple agents to interview, and it's just been a breath of fresh air. It's allowed us to get so much more revenue and still be more involved in our clients' lives. You know, we just took on a listing who has a house in South Carolina and a house in Miami and a place they're looking to buy in California. And it's like, oh, I can help you with all that. And also just Colin and I, every time we're building relationships with people like business managers or financial advisors, we make sure to emphasize that, because we want them to know that while we're in New York City, we can be their one phone call for everything real estate related. They don't have to worry about other parts of the country. They can just keep coming to us.
Amazing.
Yeah, the Compass network is truly phenomenal. There are groups from like attorneys for Compass, NCAA at Compass, women at Compass. I mean, dozens and dozens of them. And it's really good because then you can drill down and make meaningful relationships with people all over the country. I even put in my signature, and so does Boris, that we service Miami, Connecticut, I don't know, LA, because while we don't specifically service that, and Boris and I only work in New York City, our clients will ask us, why is that in your signature? And it's because we have really top talent in every network, in every area. And we're able to lean on them and really help them throughout the process, no matter where they are going to be transacting.
I love that. And even just the call out about your network and reach, that you can help be their trusted advisor that they know and have worked with you on in the local market in New York. But when they and their referrals have needs in other markets, they can also rely on you to form the right connections in those other markets. Could you also expand on that while you're still on, Colin, with regards to having experience referring in and out to so many different regions with Compass agents, how that works at many other brokerages on the growth side? We hear often, you know, there's some extra referral fee or relo fee, or you know, there's just fragmentation between different franchise models, for example, of, well, what is the email address to even reach out to that person? So maybe from previous experience and other agents, how they go in that process versus Compass, if you could dive in a little bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've referred to about 20 different markets. We've had over 50 transactions in or out that we've been able to refer or take from a referral. Boris and I, when we joined Compass, really decided to drill down and make sure that we went to every Compass event. We identified people who ran similar businesses to us and made sure that we had coffee with them. Truly, everyone has been so amenable and open to sharing and collaborating. One of the Compass tenets is collaborate without ego, and we find that truly is the case across all markets, even in New York City as well. But yes, to your point, it's usually standard 25%, and Compass doesn't take any additional fee there. They just want you to transact more, and it makes a lot of sense. I know some other franchises that are let's say in arts otherwise, or auctions, will actually be competing against each other in the same market. In the Hamptons, for example, I think that there are a couple of that are just 10 miles apart, and they will not refer business to each other. So it is really, really powerful, and we lean on it heavily. and make sure now, to Boris's point, that our clients know that we can service them anywhere in the country. And actually even outside the country now, because we have a partnership with Barnes. They're primarily France-based, but they're in a lot of different countries. Boris and I have met them in Paris and London, and we've been able to refer business there as well.
Tremendous. Love those connections internationally as well. Okay, let's shift gears here for a minute. And again, reminder to the chat, you guys have put in many great questions already. We're going to get to a couple of those, probably one or two more questions here on the program list, and then we'll go to the audience questions from there to round out today's webinar. But appreciate all the dialogue here in the chat. So I'd like to present this next question over to Boris when it comes to overcoming objections. So we have all these great tools and resources that can be leveraged that you guys have in your own systems and also through the support and backing of Compass. I'd love to drill into what are the most common objections that you're hearing from potential sellers right now, and maybe any examples of some complex multi-decision maker seller situations, how you've been able to overcome those.
Yeah, I mean, in our market, the majority of the objections we're getting is we're not ready to sell. We don't want to sell because the market is just depressed right now. They worry that the rates are still high, which translates to a lower price today than they can get next year or 2 years from now. They worry that the demand is just not there. They worry about the elections approaching and the uncertainty that will bring. So those are the pretty common themes we get in terms of objections. For all of those objections, we tell them genuinely that that could be the case, and we're here to build relationships, not chase a transaction. So we're happy to wait until they're ready. And if there's a price they have in mind, again, what's the downside of trying through private exclusive? There's never any history of price increase, decrease, or anything. We talk them through the option of renting for a couple of years. That's starting to form a relationship that I think is music to their ears, because we're not here to say, well, it's not going to get any better. I think building that type of trust leads to them being at a cocktail party and saying, hey, you should talk to these guys. They're actually really honest. And then you have the sellers that, I was just on the phone with somebody that needs to sell. They're moving across country. They do not want to have the hassle of owning a property. They understand that we have to price it lower. And their objection is they're scared, but they have a need. So we help and walk them through that. I hope that answers the question. This is just kind of top of mind because we're dealing with it.
I'll jump in there too. Some other objections, given that, so we deal with a lot of attorneys. They're a great referral source for us. We work with estate attorneys, divorce attorneys all the time. And often an objection is, well, I'm not going to pay for this to get painted or fixed up or repaired. Or it's an estate that's, let's say, two brothers inherit it and they can't afford to repair it. That's where we lean on concierge to basically take that out of their problem at all, out of their issues. And we can fund it as a loan that is still interest-free. Somebody asked about that. It is interest-free. There's a small fee to run the initial processing for it. And in our market, I believe it's up to $25,000 that we're allowed to utilize. And it can be used for staging, which we often do. I think staging is one of the best investments that someone can make to sell, or painting it, getting it up and running. And it really stops someone from pointing the finger to another seller or another party who's a decision maker to say, well, no, they should be doing it. We kind of take that away. We make sure that it gets done. We do what's best for the property and the client ultimately, and they don't need to worry about that, and they don't need to come out of pocket for it.
Thank you, Colin. Caroline,
and they get all the benefits of the ROI.
Yes, yes, the upside in sales price, exactly. And Caroline, is there anything else in just kind of closing out this question with regards to either how you've used concierge in addition to the ways that Colin was just referencing, or separate to that, any other closing thoughts on common objections that you're getting right now and how you're overcoming those in this market?
Very similar to what Colin and Boris are seeing in New York. Interest rates, it's an election year, prices are really high. So if I sell my house, I'm going to have to spend a lot of money to buy another house. Obviously, those are the people that don't really have to move, but a lot of the times people do have to move. I have a listing where people are moving to California. I have, there's situations where people are getting divorced. There's situations where they have outgrown their house because of too many children. There's always going to be a need for someone to move, but on the off chance that someone is on the fence about it, I think all of the things that we talked about, doing a Compass exclusive, seeing how much, how much notice your home gets at a price that may be a little bit more elevated for the current market. Things like that, really forming that relationship, helping them get their house ready for the market, going ahead and getting something signed with them so you can start making that relationship and that agent relationship exclusivity is really important, because as people start talking about, oh, maybe we're thinking about selling our house at a dinner party. Well, you don't know who they're sitting next to. You don't know who's going to hear it. And then you could lose that listing to either another agent or to a potential buyer. So the sooner you can get it signed up, even if it's a Compass exclusive, I think the better chances you are to have that relationship and eventually get a closing on that deal. But you can't really talk somebody out of, I don't want to pay a certain interest rate and I have this and I refinanced. A lot of this circumstances, it's going to take time and nurturing a relationship. So you can't sometimes force the issue, but just know that there will be the opportunity when it presents itself that you will be the person that they want to work with if you do all the things that we've been talking about and utilizing the Compass platform, the technology, the relationships, and all of those things are crucial into, getting more listings and maintaining clients.
So many great ideas shared today, Caroline, Boris, and Colin. Thank you so much. We're gonna now get to go into some questions from our chat. And before pulling in a couple of those here, I do want to prompt one more question over to the chat. We've covered a lot, from tech to networking to culture to programs like Compass Concierge. There's a lot that we've covered here, and of course, be happy to go in more depth in follow up with you individually on these. But question for our chat here today is there one thing you've heard today that you're excited about implementing and or learning more about? And if so, if you could please place that in the chat, that would help us so that we can really understand the impact from today's session and also how we can appropriately tailor additional content coming your way. So with that, we will go into some of the direct questions pulled from the audience, and feel free to keep those coming in. If we don't get your question immediately answered today, someone from the growth team can absolutely follow up with you on that. So let's take this first question, Caroline, sticking with you. We got to see some of the beautiful marketing collateral that you do, knowing again, you have an immense background with design and marketing. There were some questions from our chat here with regards to tips for breaking into luxury or how to increase their average price point. I know you've touched on some of this, but specific for an agent that is looking to increase their average price point, what would be some of your key recommendations for that agent?
I actually get asked by agents in the Houston market often about getting to the luxury market. It's not something that happens overnight. I'll tell you that. It's not something that you can just say, I want to be a luxury agent. It comes with obviously having a good brand behind you, which I think Compass is, definitely has a prominent place in our market in Houston. So having that name behind really helps. As you start out and you're trying to get into the luxury market, getting familiar with the houses and the neighborhoods and the luxury market, going to those open houses, becoming familiar with these houses are, how they're constructed, what's going on with them, and knowing all the ins and outs of them, having relationships, whether it's networking, whether you can get into networking groups, whether it's within Compass and those referrals, or even just networking groups in your market. And then of course, just relationships. The The better job you do for a client, that next referral will come. But the marketing piece and the tools and all of those things, that Compass stands and does for you, makes you be more presentable. It makes you be able to showcase yourself and what you can do with these kind of like touch and feel or technology aspects of the business. But like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. Continuing to make the relationships, having a good transaction with another luxury agent to where, y'all can start working deals together, and maybe they can bring you in for co-listing stuff. And then of course, a lot of people always talk about new construction. How do I get new construction luxury listings? And that is, not always easy, but for example, I've worked with a lot of different builders throughout my time in real estate. And one time I brought a buyer to a specific higher end builder, and he really liked the way I did business and how I represented my clients. And he called me and said, I want to do a bunch of spec houses. And 5 years later, we've done 6. And they, have all kind of come from just me doing a good job during the transaction and being professional and being honest and representing my clients well. And that all transpires into how somebody wants them to be represented. So that's my take on that.
Clearly, you're an expert. Thank you. And Boris and Colin as well, with immense experience with the luxury market in New York and tri-state in general, and your other markets you have relationships with for referrals. But would love to hear your perspective and your advice to an agent that's looking to increase their price point.
Yeah, I agree completely with Caroline. It takes time. I think knowing the inventory is a really huge element. Making sure that you know exactly what price per square foot things trade at, what is available, what is traded recently. Something that we do is, let's say you're starting out and you sell in our market a 1-bedroom in a building that has bigger, higher priced units. Well, step up to the 2 bedrooms, start mailing them, use the handwritten cards, tell them about your success, how quickly you sold, how few days on market it is, how we used a unique marketing approach or private exclusive to be able to sell the property, and then kind of inch your way up. I think that's great. I also agree. We've created relationships with some of the top developers in New York City, and being able to have their trust is something that really makes it a lot easier. And I know Boris has a lot more to add on that.
I'll just add one thing. We live in a social media world, and I think if you want to start doing more in the higher end markets, start showing clips and content of you talking about them. Plenty of listing agents, you obviously ask their permission, want the exposure. So the more you show that you're looking at these properties, you have a good handle on them, and your opinion, you could say, this is great because of XYZ, include it in your newsletter. You could say, here's what's happening in the luxury market, and here's what's happening in the market overall. And now you have those 2 sections, you're priming your network to hear that you have an expertise in this.
I would also definitely say joining a team is really helpful. All of our junior agents are able to leverage any sale that we do on our team. So being able for them to say to their network, we just sold this $12 million townhouse, or we just went into contract on this $50 million apartment. These are things that they get to utilize because they can piggyback on the success of the team as a whole. So I would definitely say join a team. It's something that Compass has made very, very easy, both joining and finding the right team, and also the back end and support for the team from like a team leader perspective.
Appreciate all the different perspectives and how, prescriptively and also holistically, it does take time to be able to tap into that, and something that Compass as a whole has the backing and the expertise of our in-house marketing agency. I know Caroline had spoken a bit of this group as well, and we have an entire luxury division because anyone could have the relationship with the client that has the $20 million home, right? It doesn't mean that that's those kinds of opportunities only come up for a particular caliber of agent. And so we understand and support any agent that has that opportunity to go into a pitch or presentation. And I'm throughout the number 20 million, but right, there's much lower thresholds than that. But there's a whole team to support agents in looking to increase your price point. Okay, and with that, everyone, are there any from our panelists here for Boris, Caroline, and Colin? One more question just to put back to you, but any closing remarks, anything we didn't get to cover today that you think could be relevant based on our incredible audience engagement today?
Sure. I'll just say that I think whether you're at Compass or anywhere else, focusing on relationships, not transactions, is really the way to grow your business. Making sure that you put the client first, you put their interest first, and you're not just looking to make a quick dollar and close a transaction that's against the interest of the client. We often tell people you should rent, you should not sell. And that's something that it makes them trust you. It establishes a really good relationship with them. And then that's how they refer people to you, because they trust you, they can rely on you, and they see that you're not putting your financial well-being or your ability to make money above their really, really big transaction that's possibly one of the largest of their life.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Colin and Boris said. I think just becoming a trusted advisor and becoming somebody that they don't look at as just they're waiting to close the deal and get paid. I think a lot of these transactions, especially when you get to the luxury market, they become a little bit more difficult. You're dealing with very savvy buyers and sellers that may have an opinion about how things are done and can make you work hard for your money. So I really think that just having those relationships with clients and doing a great job for your client, being available. Our jobs do not end at 5 o'clock. If you are in real estate, this job is 24/7, and you have to make yourself available or have a team that can support you in those efforts, because this is a very hands-on. You need to have questions and answers immediately, and just being there for your client to give them the right advice and make them feel comfortable when they're making one of the biggest financial decisions of their life is really important. And I think Compass, we haven't talked about this, but managers are great, legal's great. We have a great support team that if you ever run into an issue that you can't talk to another agent about or that's very confidential, our legal and our sales managers are so great, and they're so helpful that they can really help you work through an issue if you need it.
Thank you, Caroline. Boris, any final thoughts for closing out today's webinar?
I mean, you guys have all said amazing things. The only thing I can think of is just piggybacking on something both of you touched on. It's trust. At the end of the day, trust is how you build all of your relationships, and a positive attitude. So on the positive attitude front, something I like to say to clients the first time I ever meet them is to let them know I get the privilege and joy of doing something I love. I don't feel as though these phone calls, these difficult conversations, running around the city is a burden. I genuinely, Colin and I we're lawyers. We quit practicing law because we want to do something we love, and I let them know that the experience they have will be better when they work with someone that loves what they do, and that they should never feel like they're a burden if they want to talk to us on a Saturday at 9 p.m. or early in the morning. We make it very comfortable for them to know that we're available when they need us, with the exception of we have a family and we have a life. So don't hesitate to ask us. If we're available, we will hop on a call. It's a pleasure for us to talk about this stuff. And you can just watch how somebody's entire demeanor changes when they hear that.
That's really powerful.
I have one more thing that I'm seeing that I want to add, because I think it's important.
Yes, please.
A lot of people are asking, how do you find a team? How do you join a team, especially if you're a new agent? I have had people reach out to me before. They've just, you go to your market where you in, go to the Compass website, maybe see what kind of teams are out there, read their background, see their transactions, maybe see where you might be a good fit. And I would reach out to them directly. And I would start there by reaching out to the lead of the team, or if they're, a smaller team or bigger team or whoever they are, and see what they're looking for, if they're hiring, and if they're not, maybe they can point you to a team that is. But I have people reach out to me all the time. So I that's where I would start. That would be assertive, put yourself into a position where that they want to talk to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate
I was
that.
going to jump on that also. Just one other thing, Compass SGMs are phenomenal. They're strategic growth managers. They're also matchmakers. So if you come to Compass and you're a new agent, and they will know what teams are looking to expand, they'll talk to you about and see what your personality is and match you with a team. So if you can find it on your own, that's really awesome. And Boris and I have people reach out to us constantly about joining, and sometimes that works. We've also had a lot of people who the SGMs have recommended to us, and that's really been one of the ways that we've been able to grow our team and have really great talent.
Well, maybe that will be a future topic. But thank you, everyone. And on the topic of the strategic growth management team here at Compass, I am a member on that team. We would be honored to be able to follow up with any of you individually that would like more information about what an opportunity to join Compass could look like. So please feel free to reach out to us. In follow-up today, we will also be sending out a recording from today's webinar for anyone attended or who RSVP'd. But I want to just one more time thank Boris, Caroline, Colin. Thank you so much for your time, your insights, your energy today. For our audience that was extremely engaged, dropping in wonderful questions for us to help guide this conversation. It's been a delight to spend time with everyone. So keep an eye out for the email coming from us regarding the webinar recording, and for additional tips, valuable content. The website has been dropped in the chat here. You can access previous webinar recordings, read about more of the Compass value proposition, and connect with a member of our growth team for more information. That's www.compass.com/agents-compass. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.